Hello, my name is Janice Belay, and I am the producer at SFU Woodward's Cultural Programs and Partnerships. I first want to acknowledge that SFU Woodward's is located on ancestral and unceded Indigenous land belonging to the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We are privileged to create, work, and play on these lands. We are very pleased to be co-presenting Speaking of Dance Conversations again. We, of course, would love to meet all of you in person, but what this opportunity is allowing us is to reach a global audience. So again, hello, welcome from wherever you are today. Our partnership with Speaking of Dance and DanceHouse is in its 7th year, and we can't wait to resume as we have an extensive backlog of many new presentations with DanceHouse. So we will show them again. For now, we hope that you are all keeping well and keeping safe. I would like to introduce Francesca Piscopo from DanceHouse, who will introduce the program for today and share some tips on making this an ideal experience for you. We will put in the chat box the names of the artists and their websites, and so you can go and visit them. Please welcome Francesca. Thank you.
Thanks, Janice. Hello, everyone. My name is Francesca Piscopo. I'm the Artistic Associate and Community Engagement Coordinator at DanceHouse. It is great to be together today in the same virtual room, despite the current situation. We are so glad to share with you this pre-recorded video with conversation that we had with this incredible international artist who presented their work on the DanceHouse stage back in the past. With SFU Woodward Cultural Programs and Talkistic Festival, we co-presented Jacob Boehme from Australia with Blood on the Dance Floor in 2019. And SFU Woodward was our partner again when we co-presented Vanessa Goodman from our own Vancouver with her piece Wells Hill in 2017. DanceHouse presented the piece What the Day Owns to the Nights by Hervé KOUBI Company in 2017 from France, and Compagnie Urbana de Dança from Brazil, directed by Sonia Destri Lie back in 2016 with Identidades and Na Pista. Please feel free to use the live chat box to ask questions to the artist. At the end of the video, we will choose a question from the audience for each of the guests, and the artist will answer in person. Thank you so much and enjoy the video.
Ninamani, Vancouver. My name is Jacob Boehme. I'm a Narunga and Ghana artist of dance, theatre and ceremony. I'm zooming in today from Kulin country, Wurundjeri country in Melbourne. Very pleased to be talking with you.
Hi, my name is Sonia Destri Lie and I run Companhia Urbana de Dança. I'm from Brazil, and the Compagnia is based in Brazil as well, and in Rio de Janeiro. So I have seven guys and 1 girl. I used to have 11 dancers, but I mean, it was pretty hard to put them together without support. So now I have 8 dancers.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Goodman. I'm a dance artist based on the west coast of Canada on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. I've been living and working here for the last 18 years, and I have a dance company called Action at a Distance Dance Society, and I'm very pleased to be here with you today.
Hello, my name is Hervé KOUBI. I'm choreographer from France, in Cannes and Brive-la-Gaillarde in Corrèze. And now I'm in Calais, on the top of France. Yes, right now.
Guillaume, co-founder of the company Hervé KOUBI with Hervé. We created this company 20 years ago, so it's quite a long time.
So one of my most fondest memories of being in Vancouver was in early 2019 when DanceHouse and Full Circle Talking Stick Festival were presenting my work Blood on the Dance Floor. Margot Kane had hosted an evening where I was able to meet a lot of different folk from around Vancouver, and folk who were either living with HIV, who were working with organisations or people living with HIV. It was a beautiful evening. It was an evening of discussion, an evening of openness and tears, and very soon strangers became friends, and those friendships have lasted until today. I still speak to a lot of those people in that room whom I first met back in February of 2019. We still connect over social media and over the phone. And it was during that evening that I met a woman named Tracy Draper. And Tracy gifted me with the first drum that she ever made, which I still have here in my home in Melbourne. Yeah, I'll always keep that memory very close to my heart, and I have it in the form of a drum.
Do you know that when my agent said that we're going to Canada, was like, wow. And we already got the tour, like closed. Everything was like, we knew exactly what's gonna happen. But as a Brazilian, we are always, always ready to change everything. And he said, listen, we got Canada. But I mean, it's gonna be kind of tricky because the guy's gonna be performing in Miami. I remember that we came late, and was very, very late, and long travel, trip, flight. And I mean, you know, we are from the air, so when you get to the airport, it's a kind of, we don't know. No, I remember that was, as I said, it was very late, so very dark, and the airport was empty. So we got the van, and the hotel was very charming, very nice, and so we slept. In the morning, when we woke up, the city is charming. The city is beautiful. It was a very nice day, sunshine and everything. And I remember during the breakfast, people said, someone, I don't know, from the theater or something, listen, Sonia, we have a very particular kind of audience here. Canadian people, they don't clap a lot. They don't show the enthusiasm and everything, but don't worry, it's not, you're gonna be, I mean, I know your work, they're gonna love it, but I mean, this is the way we behave, okay? So don't be waiting for, I don't know, a lot of stand-up things and the audience stand up and claps and everything. And I said, okay, fine. So we talked about my experience in New York also, and I said, yeah, we got a surprise over there. First, everybody stand up. Second was like during the pieces, there was like a completely silence. No one even moved. You know, sometimes you have cough, cough, cough. You have like, you can hear the chairs. And I said, yeah, this is interesting. People said about New York as well. And for us, it was like, they showed a completely different size of. So, okay, so went to the theater and everything was okay, and we have two pieces, right? You have ID, that's very dark, and you have Na Pista, that's a dance floor. And I remember that when we gave the star to Na Pista, the audience started clapping, and it was the entire piece was like this, you know. I mean, it's a very happy piece, you know. And at the end, we had video. We have the entire theater, everybody, the old, the young, the kids, everybody dancing. Because the guys jumping to the audience and start really dancing like a party. And I remember that I was here at the side of the theater, and I put my phone on and I was like, what? I said, gosh, I mean, people, they don't know their own people, you know? Canadian people, they are happy. They are ready to jump, you know? They are, I don't know. So for me, was not a funny story because it's beautiful, no? So, and even it's not interesting. It's just beautiful. So thank you. It was a very, very, very good time in Vancouver.
I thought a lot about this one because I think it's quite interesting that you're asking this question of artists who have visited the city, and because I live in this city, it's definitely a different kind of frame. But I think one of the things that makes this place so special is that you can, in 20 minutes, be in the woods and be completely by yourself or by the ocean. There's this relationship to the natural world in this city that is quite incredible. And there's something that happens for me creatively because of that relationship. There's something physiologically that I think I'm affected by. And because of that, I think my work is really affected by it as well. I often find that if I'm in a position making a work and I feel stuck or confused about something, or I have questions about it, that going for a hike or kind of escaping the city density is something that I find quite creatively stimulating, and I look for. And some of my favorite ideas have occurred while I'm, out of breath, trucking up a mountain, trying to, concentrate on putting one foot in front of the other and not trip. And then all of a sudden something comes to me and helps me kind of solve a creative solution inside of a work. And I think that, it's kind of what makes this city so special in the sense that access to the outside is really quite easy because of the temperature, because of the city's proximity to these things, and because of the accessibility of public transit. Like, one of my favorite absolute hikes is Old Cedar, and you can get there on the number 210 that goes across the Iron Memorial Bridge, and it goes up Old Mountain Highway, and it drops you off at the base, and then you walk into, Lynn Canyon, and it's an incredible hike because you're hiking through the woods. You cross a couple of streams, and then you come to this incredible tree that's 600 years old, and it's old growth, and it's part of the landscape of the city, and I think it's one of the last old growth that's in proximity to the city that way. And I think, there's something quite special about being around things that have been around for far longer than you. And there's a history to that, and there's like a creative energy that I feel in the woods or in nature that I find quite relaxing but energizing and stimulating. And this idea that you're a part of something much larger is, I find, quite beautiful and part of my process. And I love that for $2.75, you can take the bus there.
I have a little souvenir. I remember going with all my dancers to visit, I don't know how to say, a totem pole by the sea. And I remember the walk, the promenade, with the view of the city. It was absolutely wonderful. I remember Vancouver as a very sweet city, and I felt that there's a good. It's good to live in Vancouver. I remember also one night I've been with some of my dancers in a bar, and I remember that people in Vancouver know how to party very well, very well, really. And of course, I remember the wonderful welcome, really, the wonderful welcome from the DanceHouse and the theater and the audience also. And of course, I really hope we can come back. We could come back soon in Vancouver. Yeah.
We are just emerging from a 7-month lockdown here. At times it's been fearful and frustrating and intense, and sometimes hopeless. But it's also been it's also been a time of reflection, and it's been very reaffirming. So some of the lessons I've taken from this time that I consider a treasure that I want to move forward with and take into the future is, there's a couple of things. I've been really made aware of how important my friendships and my family are to me, how important the simple pleasures are, and how sometimes the most simple actions or the most simple of gestures can mean the most to people. I've also learned a big lesson in consumption and what I don't need. And moving forward, it's, I think we're all learning that we can do without more. We actually have enough to sustain us with those things, with those simple pleasures, simple gestures of affection and intimacy, and staying connected with family and friends.
I was thinking about something good that I could say about this time, from this moment, from the pandemic came moment. It's hard to say something. It's hard to not feel the pain, the suffering, the life just going through your hands. And but I mean, I believe that we're gonna get through this journey together. We're gonna get at the end of this very dark moment, different but better, because there's no way not to get better. There is no way to understand that we need to believe that we can do things together, that we can help each other, and more than this, I think that it is the time, and it was the time, that art was something very, very precious. Art was the link, the chain that helped a lot of people that I know, even myself, and the dancers. So I think that it is something that I already knew, that I know how important art is, but but now it's not just about it's not a thought, it's not a sentence, it's not a feeling, it's a real deal. Yeah, I think that this is something that I'm gonna wake up every day and say, thanks God, I'm an artist, and I'm gonna make it for the rest of my life, because I know that we can help each other. I know that what you have in hands as an artist can change everything.
I really feel a different awareness with right now. Before the pandemic hit, for about a year and a half, I was only home for a week at a time. And, you know, I'd be home for 1 week and then away for 2 weeks, or home for a week and away for 6 weeks for work. And I was starting to feel quite tired in terms of the amount of travel and just the challenges that takes on your body, on your mind. And I feel like having time at home to ground has been really valuable, and evaluating for myself what is important as I move forward with the challenges that are occurring, but how to share work in a meaningful way while still also making sure that I'm taking care of myself and all the people that I'm collaborating with in the safest means possible. And I love that this has kind of in some ways asked all of us to evaluate these ideas of empathy for other people, and also new ways of talking about working relationships and collaborations and consent in terms of what people are okay with and not okay with. And it's made it really clear for communication about how to work and how to collaborate in a deep way while maintaining what's important about still sharing something with an audience.
The first confinement, I remember I have a good souvenir about it. It was spring, and in France we have so beautiful weather, and I keep this moment to have more time to read, to see the people you love, your family. We are always on tour, and suddenly I was forced, but it was a pleasure, of course, to be with my parents simply. And now we are the second wave. I don't know how to say. The lesson of this moment, I think we have to be modest and respectful. I think respectful of the world around us, more than ever. Respectful of life, quite simply. I hope I say well, but I think we have to be modest about life all around us, and to realize that we have to take care about environment, ecology. Yes, ecology. For example, if I can explain, I think my job is to have to try to resume to bring together people with dancing. And in this moment, very dark, with the news so difficult at this moment, I want something like to fight against what could divide us. You know, my dancers come from every religions, every country, from Algeria, from France, from Israel, from Morocco, from Palestine, from Italy, and other countries. Ça ne devrait avoir aucune importance. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. But now, at this moment, it's necessary to show it more than ever. To summarize this project, I could present it with only one question, very short. Fear or love? We have to deal with this issue, with this question. Of course, it's eminently, c'est highly highly political. of course. But I think as artists, and all the artists have to be in the middle of political questions, of course, of course.
So a dream project that I'm working on now, that I've been thinking about for years, but during this time it's just made it really urgent. So it's a project about recording our elders' stories, elders in the arts, Indigenous elders in the arts that have paved the way, that have trailblazed, that have been the mavericks in either contemporary arts and culture, like contemporary music, country music, theatre, dance, or those elders that have been our heroes in maintaining and reviving cultural practices. So my dream for that is, firstly, I'll be going around recording our elders, Indigenous elders in the arts, recording their stories so that we can hear about not only their careers, but also their lives, the social contexts that, and political and cultural contexts that they grew up in, that they fought against to be able to be the men, women, and artists that they are, but also to provide us, new generations, with a lineage to our artistic practice, but also advice and ways to look forward into the future. Because at the moment we are facing, I suppose, a global cultural revolution, and I think some of the keys to stepping forward might be in looking back. And in looking back, we need to turn back to our elders who already made those paths for us. You know, we hear often that these are the giants whose shoulders we stand on. So my dream for this project, the Elders Project, is to create a global series celebrating all our Indigenous elders in the arts, and through that is by recording their stories, then also to be able to collect curators from across the world who would like to curate a series of performances, presentations, workshops, masterclasses with elders, discussions, panel talks, talking circles, meeting points where we can listen to those elders, those mavericks and those trailblazers that paved and carved out pathways for us.
My desire is still the same. I'm still looking for amazing sponsor. I'm still looking for a place that we can rehearsal and create pieces without being looking for a room or rent or ask for a friend. And I still want to be a believer about this, that we're gonna get it. I'm planning to have a new work 2021 based not really about the pandemic but about the feeling. So we are asking friends and people to send us a sentence, lyrics, poetry, or write something that everyone is feeling now, is dreaming now, is suffering now, the loss and everything. So after we get this material, we're gonna start creating pieces. So I already had a name. Is the art of looking forward. So this is one work, and the second one, the name is The Actor and the Mover. So we invited the actors here in Rio. So this actor and the mover is this. So we're gonna have one actor and gonna have one dancer. They don't know each other, and it's gonna be like a soundtrack. So the dancer is gonna perform. I know there's a lot of people they are doing this, but here the challenge and the difficult to realize simple things like this make it more interesting, I guess.
So I'm going to share with you a bit about a project that's actually coming up fairly shortly, but I've been working on for the past 2.5 years. The project is called Graveyards and Gardens, and it's a collaboration with composer Caroline Shaw. And this is a really special work for me. It's quite close to my heart as it combines so many things that I love. Working closely, collaboratively with another artist, learning new skills, who's from a different discipline, and then also looking at creation as a series of questions around construction and decomposition of creativity. And this work is really kind of about memory and our ideas around reconstruction, and how when we recall something, in some ways it's only a reconstruction of the last time we've experienced the work or that thought or that memory. So it's quite interesting to kind of think about these ideas around how we recall things in our own kind of hard drive as we, think about how we're storing things these days. And the work is also really satisfying for me as it's set in the round, really as a performance environment with lots of different amplifiers, and there's singing involved and dancing, and that the space is really alive with both of those components. It's not just a singular work in terms of it being a work that's solely about an auditory or a visual experience. It's really about it being simultaneously something together. And I'm quite excited about it. Working with Caroline is really thrilling for me. She's an incredible composer that I feel that has pushed me as an artist, and I've learned so many new skills collaborating with her. And I think this work is important right now to both of us. We had the opportunity to potentially postpone working on it and premiering it later, but we've decided that it felt really important to us to still keep nurturing the process now during all of this, and to work at a distance from one another. She's in New York and I'm here. So we've decided to continue this process even though we can't actually be together, which the work was originally supposed to be a true duet in the sense of both of us performing together. And it still will at some point in the future. We're just not sure 100% if that's going to happen immediately with the premiere in January. But yeah, it just feels like a really special work to dive into at this moment and consider, especially because it's about time and how we remember things, and how also what the future looks like in terms of how we hold things for later, and how we experience them when we enter something in the next moment.
I'm working on a duet with two of my dancers, two brothers of the same family. And I make it with my assistant, Faisal Amlat. For this project, he is choreographer on my side. It's the very first time I make a short proposition with so few dancers, only two, because since the beginning of my company, 20 years ago, I always create performances with a minimum 10 dancers until 17 dancers on stage. So it's quite new. I do at the opposite of most of the choreographers in the world. But it's very interesting to come back with only two dancers. Very interesting to do after. I hope to make after the new creation Sol Invictus, as I told you.
Hello, welcome back. So we are now starting our Q&A. We have a few questions. So let's start maybe with a question for Hervé. Hervé, please unmute yourself. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Nice, thank you. So first of all, thanks to all of you. This was very touching, this video. I mean, I've been already talking with you, but see all together in the same video from different perspectives was really, really inspiring. Thank you. So first question. So someone asked for how do you see the discipline, in this case dance, transforming in the coming years or decades? Or how would you like to see it transform? I would like to address this question to you. It's like, how do you see contemporary dance, in your case, will transform because of all the situation, but in general, within the next decade?
Hello, everyone. First of all, sorry for my so bad English. If I have problem, Guillaume is close
with
to
bad
me.
English too.
Yes, but so about the question, I really hope we won't have to adapt ourselves too much to present our projects only in virtual ways, for example. Even if I find wonderful, really, to be in front of you right now with all my artistic friends, I think it's a kind of resistance act to be here right now with you and for an audience. But I really hope we will find again the real theater with a real audience and to work again with all the dancers. I'm convinced that all my friends, choreographers here, agree with that, of course.
And you know, in France, during the first lockdown, they talked a lot about the world of after. What could be the world of after these lockdowns? And this was one of the major questions here in France. But we not really agree with that kind of world of after, because as an artist, we think that we are already thinking of this world of after. And during the lockdown in France, it was maybe one of the major things that artists were asked to do, to think of a world of after. I think we will just keep with our identities, with our dreams, with our loves, with our fears. Maybe even if this pandemic had new fears or unexpected things, but I think we must keep very like a treasure all our creativities and all our desires, and maybe look further that pandemic and not only to be focused on these things.
Sorry, I'm muted. Thank you so much. Thanks. So we have another question, maybe Jacob? Jacob? A question for you. So Jacob, how your country, can you tell more about your country, Australia, is supporting artists through the pandemic? Someone asked about this.
Yes, so we've had quite a few government bailouts. The states, state by state, have been very different. It's been interesting. We were the first industry to shut down, and we are the last industry to emerge out of this. We're still not at full presentation, and we don't know when that will happen. We've had some government assistance in the form of emergency funds and relief grants, but they're rather small. they don't really sustain you past a month or a couple of months. A lot of us, you know, the government had a broader scheme called JobKeeper and JobSeeker, which was a government fund, like you know, like Social Security. So people got a lot of different payments. However, artists, casual workers were some of the people that suffered most. So most of us weren't able to receive those payments. We've just had our state government here in Victoria release a $1.4 billion package for the arts. However, that is going to, most of that 1.4 billion is been earmarked to support the infrastructure. So all the venues are getting a facelift, which is like, why the are you giving a facelift to all the venues when we can't walk inside them? We don't know when we're going to get inside them. And where's all the money to put the art inside the venue? It's a little bit stupid. Our federal government had apparently put money towards a rescue package. We haven't seen that yet. Our current government are very good at making promises and not delivering. So it's slightly frustrating. Artists are suffering. We've had a bit of, people are adapting though. We're, you know, making work online. I don't know how much work online I can bear anymore. I'm kind of done watching work online. If I wanted to work in film and television, I would have studied film and television. Yeah, but we adapt and we get on with it, I suppose.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I guess that every one of us in different countries, we are struggling with policies and, you know, emergency funds, and sharing the same feeling, I guess. Thank you, Jacob. I have another question from the floor. So maybe this is for Vanessa. Vanessa, hi. So Vanessa, how do you imagine the work shifting to include more accessibility for cross-territory collaboration, considering the situation?
I think some of the interesting things that have happened because of this is that we've been able to connect more regularly with people from a distance, I guess, because of online discourse and sharings. However, that being said, of course, there's a lack of maybe intimacy that's sometimes captured in these contexts. But I think there is possibility potentially in having maybe a more kind of open mind or open frame about how collaboration can work while people are not in the same space together. That being said, there's always, you know, that tactile and that kind of that resonance of another body in a room with you that you can't replicate with a digital component. But, you know, I think there's some things that are of interest to me inside of this. Like one of the things I've had to kind of adapt some things to kind of the digital format or the online format. And for me, the idea of intimacy is still really important. And I keep asking myself this question of how we can still have a level of intimacy with the people that we're practicing art with, from across territories, from across continents, from across oceans. I've had to collaborate with people from, you know, across an ocean inside of this online, and begin processes that way. And I think, you know, there's maybe space for new frames or new ideas around what that looks like. And not that it's a replacement, though, I would say. I'd say it's just something different. And not that, I'd even say that, I mean, they have different values too. I'd say it's like comparing maybe an apple and an orange. They're just two different things in terms of how that works. But I do think there's a greater understanding of what it's like to maybe work from a distance at this time. And that has affected me personally as an artist. And in some ways it's made things more possible. In other ways, it's a lot of creative problem solving, which I think as artists we're often doing, is problem solving on so many levels, and thinking, you know, out of the box, as we often say, is like what's all of that liminal space between us and what we know and what we understand, and what is the space that we don't understand yet, and how can we engage in that territory and find ways to still have dialogue and creative input from across borders and continents and oceans. Yeah, I think.
Thanks, Vanessa. Yeah, it's actually pretty inspiring to see how many artists are starting to use this limitation like an inspiration for their work as well, right? Like the problem solving is becoming the concept, the core concept behind, you know, their creation. So we'll see what happens in the next few years. Thank you. And now I have another question here, maybe for Sonia. Sonia? So I have a question for you from the audience.
I'm here.
Hi. So do you think that, someone's asking, do you think that the pandemic has changed your creation process in a permanent way or temporary? And if it's in a permanent way, why and how?
Yeah, you know what? I think that, yes. I think that we're never gonna be the same. I'm never gonna think the same. I'm never gonna feel the same. So I hope that goes to the better place, that my creativity or my way of looking things, you know, but I'm completely sure that it's gonna change. And I don't know how. I'm now in the middle today, as I said, I'm in the middle of the process of a creation that I have to present in the space here on Tuesday. And everything that I could think and I can think is something like this, you know. So even I'm creating in the middle of the creation, even I got one job in 7 months, is the first invitation that I have. I'm still feel tight, you know. So I believe that probably I'm gonna make it better. The happiness is gonna come, the relax is gonna come, the chance to look to the horizon is gonna come. But if you ask me today and now, I'm gonna say yes. Change me completely, everything, but make me better, because now I know that I need less. You know that Hervé KOUBI said that he always worked for 11 dancers or 12 dancers, and me is the same. Every time I'm gonna make a creation, I use my 11 dancers. So it's the first time that I'm thinking about to have 2 on stage. So life is teaching us that less is more, that you can do that, you know, that you can find a way to do things in the way that you never thought you're gonna make it, you know. But yes, change me completely. But I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just a different thing, right? Yeah?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sonia.
It's a new work. It's a new life.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And more questions from the audience? We have actually more time. Don't be shy. And if we don't have more questions, I will actually, given that it's a pretty interesting question, this one about how the pandemic will actually, oh no, we have a question, great, from Sarah. What advices, maybe I will ask this question to Jacob again. Oh, we have a lot, great. So Jacob, what advices would you give emerging artists, art students who is graduating in university this year? I don't know if it's...
Oh God. Yeah, I think, okay, so one of the things I would ask students to do is look at our history, look at our lineage, because we've all pretty much inherited, you know, like we've only had the funding system that we belong to, or that we rely on now, really has only been around since the 70s. So I would ask some of those artists, emerging artists, to look back. What was there before the current funding system that we have? Because that's no longer reliable. That's no longer tenable. That's no longer a solution. So not only that, but I would also ask artists coming out of universities to look at the world around them and ask themselves how relevant their work really is right now. What is it that they want to say, and do people really need to hear it? Because there's a lot of us, I mean, we are facing across the globe, we have the BLM movement, we've got Indigenous rights, we've got women's rights, we've got queer rights. There's a whole bunch of stuff culturally that's going on. And there are people that, you know, refugees, we've got lots of different migration happening because of war, because of politics. And it's kind of like, I think we all need to ask ourselves, not just kids coming out of universities, but really, do people really need to hear what I have to say right now? Who needs to hear what I have to say right now? How relevant is my work to the community that I live in?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks. We have time for more questions. So, Vanessa, another question for you. How do you see future collaboration with different sectors of society now?
I think, you know, I think this idea of sharing and how we share work is come into question in a really significant way through all of this. And I think the value of traditional models, or more kind of like just past models of how we interact, have shifted quite significantly. So I'm actually quite excited to also see a lot of smaller organizations taking initiative right now and sharing work on different scales and different sizes, and how they reach people, engage people, what kind of conversations that they're engaging in. I think what Jacob just said was really important, and I think these conversations have, what's gone on in the world in the last year isn't just also a testament to what's gone on in the last year. These are things that have come up over, you know, centuries of societal and systemic issues. And I think that, you know, I think we'll see a lot of change cross-sector, and I'm hopeful that we'll see a lot of change cross-sector. I think that's really important. I think we need it right now. I think, you know, what we see has happened in the States, we're being so close to America right now in Canada, has deeply affected us. And I'm hoping that it continues to deeply affect us. And I'm hoping we see these shifts, these massive shifts on how we engage, how we choose to engage, what the responsibility is, what sectors we're asking to participate, what sectors are being included. I think this is all incredibly important. And I think that out of this, I think, you know, being in kind of a lockdown that's global in a sense, has kind of made us in some ways feel more connected to each other because we're all enduring some level of this together. You know, I think we've been very fortunate here on the West Coast in so many ways compared to a lot of other places. And you know, I feel very lucky because of that. But at the same time, I think there's something we have to continually ask ourselves these questions. And I think I'm hoping that there's a greater empathy and in terms of how we engage and what that looks like in the future.
Thank you. And I agree. I think it's very important. Thanks, Vanessa. Quick question for Hervé. If he's there. Hi, Hervé, again.
Yeah.
So, question from the audience. Someone asked, have you found sources of hope and inspiration in the last few months? I know that you already talked about how you lived the situation, but what was your source of hope that you could potentially use for your work or in your life?
About hope, I think we have no choice. We have to keep dream and to keep optimistic. I think we have to. For me, I think I dreamt harder, louder during all this time. We have to wait. Of course, I found some new desires. For example, to dance outside in other places, d'autres endroits que le théâtre.
In other places other than the theaters.
And to meet the audience by other ways.
It was very touching and a really big source of hope during the first lockdown. Every evening at 7 p.m., people were in the streets and clapping for the nurses and people for the hospitals who were caring about the ill people. And this was a source of hope, and we with Hervé decided to not to be only focused on stages, but to go out and to explore new territories and new audiences that are not necessarily addicted or addicted to culture, but to try to, yes, to in a certain way invite the streets with dance and with some springs of energies and moves and in the sad streets maybe. So that was one source of inspiration and hope to go out. When you are in a lockdown, you are forced to stay inside, and so maybe that was the will in a reaction to jump and to spring in the streets.
So I think we will keep that idea for the future to go more than outside the theater to dance, simply.
Yeah, thanks. No, it's fun because we have the same here in Vancouver, right? At 7 p.m., people clap and make noise at the balcony to, you know, in a thankful way over the health work. Yeah, I think that this is kind of give us a sense of community all around the world. It is nice. It actually gives some hope. Thanks. And we have another question from Lindy. Thanks, Hervé. So this question is for Sonia. I think it's the last question. Sonia, someone from the audience is asking, how can we work together to help society understand the importance of arts to the society, rather than leave behind the artists because they aren't self-sustaining? In in terms of money and the need of audience when theater are shut and government don't seem to care about that. Well, the question is, how can we work together to help society to understand how important it is, the role of the artist?
I think that I'm not the right person for you to ask me this, because I'm gonna tell you what. You need to be so strong. You need to be so believer. You need to love your profession. You need to believe that you are making the difference, doesn't matter how. And I can tell you, I'm a very lucky woman, because I can see I have 8 dancers, as I said, and I can see how poor they were before, how they didn't see each other as a Black woman being, and today they see themselves as a Black warrior or a Black king. You know, I can see the difference. But I'm gonna tell you what's happening here now in my country. It's, for me, it's kind of interesting when I see the guys talking, because it's so far away from our reality, so far away. We don't have 1 coin from the government. I know that Francesca is gonna say, please, Sonia, don't talk about that. I mean, we don't have 1 coin. So, I mean, we are selling everything. Even myself, I just moved from a flat for 3 bedrooms, and I moved to a flat this size because I need to support my dance company. So, answer your question is, or you believe and you're focused and you decide to do what you have to do to keep your profession, to keep your desire, and to keep the necessity together, or you are in the wrong profession. You know that? I mean, I don't know that my English is getting, when I get excited, my English get pretty bad. But I mean, I'm selling so cheap. I'm doing things that I never thought I'm gonna do. You know, my dancers that are giving class for 2 guys, you know that? So we are just like, okay, guys, let's go, because we're gonna make it better. We're gonna make it like a better woman being, not because we're gonna change for better. I hope it's gonna change for better, but I mean, they're gonna make it us better. But it's very, very hard. So the theaters are closed. Here in Brazil, we don't have anything. In Rio, very charming city, the most beautiful city in the world, nothing. We don't have 1 coin for no one. People are starving, people are killing it. They're not really dancers, like designers. So it's, I mean, it's not a subject that I want to bring here because everybody looks so charming, but I mean, people are dying, the artists are dying, the technicians are dying. So how you support this? So I'm giving things, we have giving food for people. I have 1 dancer that we take food every week for him because he has no money. So I mean, it's about, to answer your question, is courage, desire, necessity, and be a believer. You know, it's not about faith, it's not about religion, it's about how strong you can desire that thing, how strong and how deeply you want to believe that your art is going to change the world. Because I can tell you, it can change. I see it every simple day when I go to my rehearsal. So it's the reason that even starving, you believe that art can save the world. So seems like, I don't know that answer, but I mean, this is what I believe, you know, you need to be strong. Okay.
Thank you, Sonia. And I appreciate this because I mean, it's true. We are living in different realities. There are luckier realities and less luckier. And we have to speak the truth for everyone and maybe do something for everyone, not only individually. And unfortunately, we have to wrap up. So,
You're Italian, right?
yeah,
Are
I
you
am.
Italian?
Yeah, I am.
We have a lot. I'm sorry. My hands go like a Carmen Miranda way, you know.
Yeah, I understand this. Don't worry. I do the same, like a puppet all the time. Well, I feel it's time to wrap up. This was wonderful. Thank you so much to everyone for being here, for having participated to this project. Thanks on behalf of DanceHouse and SFU Woodward's Cultural Art Program. Thank you, really. Thank you so much. This was really inspiring. And please join us in February for another session. We will have more thoughts and ideas. Thank you. See you soon. Bye. Thank you all.